Testing. Gonna get comical here real quick. Adonai said to Moshe, "Speak to the entire community of Israel and tell them, you people are to be holy because I, Adonai your God, am holy. Every one of you is to revere his father and mother, and you are to keep my Shabbats. I am Adonai your God. Do not turn to idols, or do not cast metal gods for yourselves. I am Adonai your God. When you offer a sacrifice of peace offering to Adonai, offer it in a way that will make you accepted. It is to be eaten the same day you offer it, and the following day. But if any of it remains until the third day, it is to be burned up completely. If any of it is eaten on the third day, it will have become a disgusting thing and will not be accepted. Moreover, everyone who eats it will bear the consequences of profaning something holy meant for Adonai. That person will be cut off from his people. When you harvest the ripe crops produced in your land, don't harvest all the way to the corners of your field, and don't gather the ears of grain left by the harvesters. Likewise, don't gather the grapes left on the vine or fallen off the ground after harvest. Leave them for the poor and the foreigner. I am Adonai, your God. Do not steal from, defraud, or lie to each other. Do not swear by my name falsely, which would be profaning the name of your God. I am Adonai. Do not oppress or rob your neighbor. Specifically, you are not to keep back the wages of a hired worker all night until morning. Do not speak a curse against a deaf person or place an obstacle in the way of a blind person. Rather, fear your God. I am Adonai. Do not be unjust in judging. Show neither partiality to the poor nor difference to the mighty, but with the justice judge your neighbor. Do not go around spreading slander among your people, but also don't stand idle by when your neighbor's life is at stake. I am Adonai. Do not hate your brother in your heart. Do not hate your brother in your heart, but rebuke your neighbor frankly, so that you won't carry sin because of him. Don't take vengeance on or bear a grudge against any of your people. Rather, love your neighbor as yourself. I am Adonai. Observe my regulations. Don't let your livestock mate with those of another kind. Don't sow your field with those two different kinds of grain, and don't wear a garment of cloth made of two different kinds of thread. If a man has sexual relations with a woman who is a slave intended for another man, and she has neither been redeemed nor given her freedom, there is to be an investigation. They are not to be put to death because she was not free. In reparation, he is to bring a ram of a guilt offering for himself to the entrance of the tent of meeting. The Kohen will make atonement for him with a ram of the guilt offering before Adonai for the sin he committed, and he will be forgiven for the sin he committed. When you enter the land and plant various kinds of fruit trees, you are to regard its fruit as forbidden. For 3 years it will be forbidden to you and not eaten. In the 4th year, all its fruit will be holy, for praising Adonai. But in the 5th year you may eat its fruit, so that it will produce even more for you. I am Adonai, your God. Don't eat anything with blood. Don't practice divination or fortune-telling. Don't round your hair at the temples or mar the edges of your beard. Don't cut gashes in your flesh when someone dies or tattoo yourselves. I am Adonai. Do not debase your daughter by making her a prostitute, so that the land will not fall into prostitution and become full of shame. Keep my Shabbats and revere my sanctuary. I am Adonai. Do not turn to spirit mediums or sorcerers. Don't seek them out to be defiled by them. I am Adonai, your God. Stand up in the presence of a person with gray hair. Show respect for the old. You are to fear your God. I am Adonai. If a foreigner stays with you in your land, do not do him wrong. Rather, treat the foreigner staying with you like the native born among you. You are to love him as yourselves, for you are a foreigner in the land of Egypt. I am Adonai, your God. Don't be dishonest with measuring length, weight, or capacity. Rather, Use an honest balance scale, honest weights, an honest bushel, dry measure, and an honest gallon, liquid measure. I am Adonai, your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt. Observe all my regulations and rulings and do them. I am Adonai. Adonai said to Moshe, say to the people of Israel, if someone from the people of Israel or one of the foreigners living in Israel sacrifices one of his children to Molech, he must be put to death. The people of the land are to stone him to death. I too will set myself against him and cut him off from his people, because he has sacrificed his child to Molech, defiling my sanctuary and profaning my holy name. If the people of the land look the other way, when the man sacrifices his child to Molech and fail to put him to death, then I will set myself against him, his family, and everyone who follows him to go fornicating after Molech and cut them off from their people. The person who turns the spirit mediums and sorcerers to go fornicating after them, I will set myself against him and cut him off from his people. Therefore consecrate yourselves. You people must be holy, because I am Adonai, your God. Observe my regulations and obey them. I am Adonai, who sets you apart to be holy. A person who curses his father and mother must be put to death. Having cursed his father and his mother, his blood is on him. If a man commits adultery with another man's wife, that is, with the wife of a fellow countryman, both the adulterer and the adulteress must be put to death. The man who goes to bed with his father's wife has disgraced his father sexually, and both of them must be put to death. Their blood is on them. If a man goes to bed with his daughter-in-law, both of them must be put to death. They have committed a perversion, and their blood is on them. If a man goes to bed with a man as with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. They must be put to death. Their blood is on them. If a man marries a woman and her mother, it is depravity. They are to be put to death by fire, both he and they, so that there will not be depravity among you. If a man has sexual relations with an animal, he must be put to death. You are to kill the animal. If a woman approaches an animal and has sexual relations with it, you are to kill the woman and the animal. Their blood will be on them. If a man takes his sister, his father's daughter, or his mother's daughter, and has sexual relations with her, and she consents, it is shameful. It is a shameful thing. They are to be cut off publicly. He has had sexual relations with a sister, and he will bear the consequences of their wrongdoing. If a man goes to bed with a woman in her menstrual period and has sexual relations with her, he has exposed the source of her blood, and she has exposed the source of her blood. Both of them are to be cut off from their people. You are not to have sexual relations with your mother's sister or your father's sister. A person who does this has had sexual relations with his close relative. They will bear the consequences of their wrongdoing. If a man goes to bed with his uncle's wife, he has disgraced his uncle sexually. They are to bear the consequences of their sin and die childless. If a man takes his brother's wife, it is uncleanliness. He has disgraced his brother's sexuality. They will become childless. You are to observe all my regulations and rulings and act on them, so that the land which I am bringing you will not vomit you out. Do not live by the regulations of the nation which I am expelling ahead of you, because they did all these things, which is why I detested them. But to you I have said, you will inherit the land. I will give it to you as a possession, a land flowing with milk and honey. I am Adonai your God, who has set you apart from the other peoples. Therefore you are to distinguish between clean and unclean animal, between clean and unclean birds. Do not make yourselves detestable with an animal, bird, or reptile that I have set apart for you to regard as unclean. Rather, you people are to be holy for me, because I am Adonai, I am holy, and I have set you apart from the other people so that you can belong to me. A man or a woman who has a spirit medium or sorcerer must be put to death. They are to stone them to death. Their blood will be on them. Adonai said to Moshe, speak to the Kohanim, the sons of Aaron, tell them, no Kohen is to make himself unclean for any of his people who dies, except for his close relatives, his mother, father, son, daughter, or brother. He may also make himself unclean for his virgin sister, who has never married and is therefore dependent on him. He may not make himself unclean because he is a leader among the people. Doing so would profane him. Kohanim are not to make bald spots on their heads, mar the edges of their beards, or cut gashes in their flesh. Rather, they are to be holy for their God and not profane the name of their God. For they are the ones who present Adonai with their offerings, made by fire, the bread of their God. Therefore they must be holy. A Kohen is not to marry a woman who is a prostitute, who has been profaned, or who has been divorced, because he is holy for his God. Rather, you are to set apart as holy, because he offers the bread of your God. He is to be holy for you, because I, Adonai, am who makes you holy, am holy. The daughter of the Kohen who profanes herself by prostitution profanes her father. She is to be put to death by fire. The Kohen who ranked highest among his brothers, the one whose head the anointing oil is poured, and who is consecrated to put on the garments, is not to stop grooming his hair, tear his clothes, go in to wear any dead body, or to make himself unclean, even when his father or mother dies. He may not leave the sanctuary then and profane the sanctuary of his God, because the consecration of the anointing oil is his God. The anointing oil of his God is on him. I am Adonai. He is to marry a virgin. He is not to marry a widow, divorcee, profaned woman, or prostitute, but he must marry a virgin from among his own people, and not disqualify his descendants among his people, because I am Adonai, who makes him holy. Adonai said to Moshe, tell Aaron, none of your descendants who has a defect may approach to offer the bread of his God. No one with a defect may approach, no one blind, lame, with a mutated face, or a limb too big, a broken foot, a broken arm, a hunched back, stunted growth, a cataract in his eye, festering or running sores, damaged testicles. No one descending from Aaron the Kohen who has such defect may approach to present the offering for Adonai made by fire. He has a defect, and is not to approach to offer the bread of his God. He may eat the bread of his God, both the especially holy and the holy. Only he is not to go into the court and approach the altar, because he has a defect, so that he will not profane my holy place, because I am Adonai, who makes them holy. Moshe said these things to Aaron, his sons, and all the people of Israel.